Hello everyone, I just thought I'd record a quick little video update about my current thoughts on the cryptocurrency market and just do a little recap of the alt seasons that we've had in the past and what might be happening now or be imminent to happen. So in 2017 we had quite an immature market and a relatively small market cap overall, the total cryptocurrency market cap, compared to what it is today. And because it was a new asset class and it was only just coming to the attention of retail investors, and not only retail investors, it was really just getting the eyes of institutions and big players and whales around the world. In 2017 we had a huge bull run relative to the start of the market caps. So Bitcoin we saw hit $20,000, and then in its last leg we saw Bitcoin dominance drop as altcoins outperformed. And why did everything go so crazy? It went crazy because of FOMO. It went crazy because it was a new asset class. Every new invention that comes in, okay, over the past 100 years, over the past 200 years, whatever, there's a rush of speculative money to it, okay? And that's what happened. People are betting on the future, and as those bets come in, market caps get larger and larger and larger, and FOMO happens, fear of missing out. The whole world starts investing. We form a bubble, and we did form a bubble after a blow-off top fashion. This is supposed to be a quiet lane, cars everywhere. So Bitcoin dominance drops, altcoins outperform, and we go into a bear market. And then we go into 2021. So what caused 2021's parabolic rally? Well, it came straight after the COVID crash of March, and the Fed had to hurriedly perform unprecedented quantitative easing, where they basically injected billions and billions and billions and billions of liquidity into the markets. And because of that, things shot up frantically. And we also had NFTs, which was a big narrative, which led a lot of speculation in the market. So we had Bitcoin up to 65,000, and Bitcoin dominance gets up to the top, wherever it was in 2021. I think it was quite high actually, off the top of my head. I think it got up to like 70%, can't quite remember. But then it drops. So we have this pattern of Bitcoin dominance going up, and then towards the end of the cycle, Bitcoin dominance drops massively, which doesn't mean that Bitcoin is dropping, it just means that altcoins are massively outperforming towards the end. In the last big impulse of the run, there was two prongs, for lack of a better word, in the 2021 market, where we went up first, came down, everyone thought it was the end, and then up we go into the big blow off top. And we're only 4 years on from 2017, so things are still new, and a lot of speculative money is going in still. So let's fast forward now. We've got Bitcoin up at record highs, 110k, and altcoins are not doing so well. Some have. Solana's done well. We're seeing Zcash perform exceptionally well. That has done a times 18 or something crazy like that from the bottom. But on the whole, they're not doing too well against Bitcoin. The Bitcoin dominance is at 60%. I think it's about to drop again. But why would it be about to drop? What's the narrative this time? So the narrative is that we're going into an easing cycle where job data is coming in a little worse, inflation is moderating, and the Fed are going to cut, which injects more liquidity into the system, which sends speculative assets higher. And it's not just that things become liquidity becomes cheaper to borrow. It is that the US dollar drops, which means that those around the world invested in US bonds basically are forced out of US bonds. And it doesn't necessarily mean that they'll go into crypto, but it only takes a certain percentage of this to get the market going. So what am I looking for in the next sort of month or so for this altcoin season to happen and for Bitcoin dominance to drop? Well, we need a bit of a bad jobs report when the government reopens. Not a terrible report, because the markets will panic if so, but we need like 4.2, 4.3, 4.4% unemployment. And what would be a double whammy effect would be if inflation was to drop quite hard. So at the minute, the last reading was 3%, forecast at 3.1%. It's pretty much holding steady, flat, but on the longer term it is coming down. We need to see a big drop, and I think we're going to see a big drop because we've seen a big drop in oil, and oil is one of the biggest drivers to inflation. We've had enough time now for the tariff effect to come in, and we can quite clearly see that tariffs have not caused inflation, and if they have, that means that inflation without tariffs would have dropped dramatically. So the Fed should have been cutting earlier. What else was I going to say? Yeah, so we need both of those really to ignite the alt season. Now, are we going to see such a broad participation of altcoin euphoria as we saw in 2017 and 2021? I am not sure. Because institutions are leading the way, and eventually, in this whole speculative game that we've been playing for 7-8 years, eventually real use cases, real world uses, it's going to win. Yeah, we had all the meme coins and the NFTs in 2021, but this time I think one of the big narratives is going to be real world tokenization, real world asset tokenization. So putting stocks 24/7 on the blockchain, and for things like that, the RWA runs on chains like Ondo Finance and XLM and Link. Well, Link acts as an oracle. So coins with use cases like that, and coins with integration into stable coins, which is why I'm invested so much in Curve Finance. So going forward, we need Bitcoin to get impulsively upwards, because that's always where the altcoin outperformance happens. So we need to get Bitcoin above the 702 Fibonacci retracement, which recently is exactly 119,000. Once we get above that, it gives the market confidence that Bitcoin is going into a new all-time high. Once we get to that Bitcoin new all-time high, and we're into 126k, 127k, 128k, 130k and upwards, Bitcoin dominance will drop, as it always has. I should be careful and not say it will definitely drop, because I don't have a crystal ball. And I should instead say that it is very likely to drop. Because every time that this has happened, where Bitcoin's got to its cycle high, at the end of the cycle, near around 540 days post-halving, which is around October, so we're pushing it a little, but what's a month or two between friends, eh? The altcoins are going to run. But be careful on your exits, because I'm not sure if Bitcoin dominance is going to come down to the lows that it did before. People are saying, oh yeah, it'll go to 40% definitely, things will go wild. But if we're not seeing broad participation, it means that money will be focused in the more useful chains with an actual reason to exist. And I think we'll see dominance drop to about 50%, and that's where I'm going to be considering taking exits should I reach some good targets that I've got. So let's see what happens over the next few months. I do expect Q4 to be very bullish for altcoins, but perhaps not all altcoins, which is why I try to focus on about 10 main ones and concentrate mainly in about 4 main ones. We also have the AI narrative unfolding, so there's still a lot of speculative money to come into AI, and there's also a lot of projects in AI that still have small market caps, and let's not mention Fetch AI, which has been devastating price-wise, but I still think there's a good retrace to come with a potential for $2 to $3. And Bitensor, TAO, I think that has a good potential to times 3, times 4 from these current prices in the next few months. It's already seeing some momentum, so as soon as Bitcoin goes, it's those coins that have been seeing momentum that will see more upside than the ones that haven't.